Sofia worked at one of the top hospitals in the city, fulfilling her dream of being a surgeon. Her mother disapproved of her choice to spend her life operating on people, but Sofia saw saving lives as a noble mission. Despite her delicate and calm demeanor, she could have chosen to be a neurologist, an ophthalmologist, or a therapist, but she was determined not to operate on people. At the hospital, she excelled, earning the management's trust to handle complex surgeries. Her mother would often say, "Hey girl, if you keep working all the time, you'll never get married." Sofia would respond, "Mom, being a housewife isn't the main goal in life." "Are you crazy? You're a woman, and we age faster. Time is ticking," her mother would insist. "Well, let the clock tick then," Sofia would reply calmly. The last time she had been in a relationship was in college, where she fell for a classmate who later ended up with her best friend. Since then, Sofia had avoided relationships. Her friends kept their distance to spare her any more pain. She was beautiful, blonde curls, porcelain skin, brown eyes, like a doll, but with a strong character. Her profession had taken its toll on her that night. After a long day, with 2 scheduled surgeries in the morning and an extended operation following a car accident, she was exhausted. She left the hospital and walked through the park, eager to reach her apartment shared with her mother, take off her boots and coat, and sink into a bubble bath. Afterward, she planned to fall into a deep, restful sleep. Suddenly, she heard a loud groan. Stopping and looking around in confusion, she shivered from the cold as darkness settled in. The sound seemed to come from a nearby bush. "Who's there?" she called out, walking towards the bush. Turning on her phone's flashlight, she found a man lying there, writhing in pain. He tried to speak, but only groans escaped his lips. Sofia saw him and stepped back. He was a homeless man, dressed in rags, with long, dirty hair and a grey beard. The smell confirmed his dire situation. She hesitated, doubting if she should approach, but then felt ashamed of her thoughts. After all, she was a doctor. It was clear that he needed medical help. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need any help?" she asked, sitting down next to the homeless man. He looked at her with eyes full of pain and despair and just groaned again while holding his stomach. "I'm a doctor. Let me examine you," Sofia said gently, her voice calm and kind, as she touched the man. She realized she had forgotten some basic procedures, but quickly put her hand on his stomach and pressed a few times. Immediately, she dialed the emergency number for the hospital and called for doctors to assist a patient in the park. The receptionist was surprised and said, "You need to call an ambulance from the free municipal hospital. Our hospital doesn't accept this patient. It's an expensive and high-standard hospital." Sofia replied, "The man needs urgent surgery. He might not make it to another hospital. Send an ambulance here right now." The receptionist couldn't ignore the urgency, and soon doctors arrived in the park with a stretcher. When they saw the man, they hesitated. Sofia assured them they could take him to their hospital. "Should we just leave him here?" one of them asked. Another replied, "But he's a beggar, and we work at an expensive hospital." The paramedic intervened. "First and foremost, he's a human being. Handle him with care and put him on a stretcher." They did as instructed, and everyone in the emergency room was shocked. The nurses went pale, and even the janitors were stunned. Derek, the on-call doctor, refused to do the surgery. "I won't even get close to that bum," he said. "I can do this on my own," Sofia said confidently, and ordered the nurses. "All right, girls, the municipal hospital's music will take care of this bum soon," Derek asked. "And where are they taking him? To another hospital?" Sofia replied, "They take all like him there." Derek responded, "That hospital is over an hour away, and he'll obviously get worse during the trip. He might die on the way." Sofia, with a cold look, said, "So you think we should ignore beggars, Derek? This is a top-class hospital, where rich people and even millionaires come, But he's a human being in need. He's dirty, stinks, and could be infected. Derek was outraged. Sofia replied, "A good cleaning of the operating room will solve all the problems." She then rolled the beggar onto a stretcher and into the operating room. They followed Sofia reluctantly, knowing she was right but worried about what the head doctor, Mr. Edvaldo, would say. He had already left, but he would find out later anyway. "Girls, I'll take full responsibility," Sofia assured them, seeing the doubt in their eyes. "Go wash up and I'll prepare everything in the operating room." The old anesthesiologist, Mr. Wilson, didn't say a word. He was a man of old habits, like everyone else in the operating room. He appreciated Sofia's attitude and tried not to think about the chief doctor's reaction. He knew Edvaldo would make a scene. The operation was successful, though challenging. "Sofia, you made the right decision. If he had been sent to another hospital, he would have died," Mr. Wilson told her. "Yes, that's exactly what I've been trying to tell everyone," Sofia replied, though she knew she would face criticism from Edvaldo. The anesthetist warned, "Be prepared for a scolding." "Why?" "Mr. Edvaldo is not heartless. I think he will understand," she said. "He's a businessman. Who's going to pay for this? The man doesn't even have an ID," Mr. Wilson reminded her. "He'll only be here for a few days before we transfer him to the municipal hospital," Sofia said naively, confident that the head doctor would understand her. She returned home after midnight, too tired to shower. She quickly washed her face, went to bed, and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, a phone call woke her up. It was the head doctor. He was furious, accusing Sofia of creating unsanitary conditions and violating regulations. "Should I put the hospital on quarantine?" Mr. Edvaldo shouted. "We did all the tests, including a chest x-ray. There's nothing wrong with him. He's healthy." Sofia calmly replied, "He would have died if we hadn't operated on him." "Why do you care? Is he your father, brother, husband, or friend? That beggar has been dead to society for a long time. Such a man has no place in the world," Mr. Edvaldo said. "Sorry, but your thinking is not like a doctor's," Sofia responded. "How dare you speak to the head doctor like that?" he shouted. "You're fired. We'll give you the dismissal papers, and you can forget about your salary and labor rights because they will cover the hospital's losses." What kind of losses? Her hands were trembling as the head doctor hung up. Sofia was beside herself after the conversation, tears streaming down her face unnoticed. She stood by the window and let the tears flow. "Honey, why are you crying?" her mother asked softly as she approached. "Who were you talking to?" "It was the chief doctor," Sofia said, wiping her tears. "Mom, I got fired." She then recounted the whole story. Her mother listened and shook her head. "Oh my God, what a tough time we're going through. Does he think you did the wrong thing?" her mother wondered. "Mom, all that matters to people like Mr. Edvaldo is status and money. Human life has no value to him." "It's okay, dear, don't worry. You did the right thing, I'm sure of it. Someone up there is watching everything that's going on, and everything will come back to you tenfold," her mother reassured her, giving her a hug. "I hope so. But I'm unemployed now. How are we going to survive? I'll look for a new job, but I think Mr. Edvaldo will blacklist me from all the hospitals. I might not be able to get a job anywhere." "Oh well, you could be a pharmacist. They make good money," her mother suggested. "I'm only used to surgery, saving people, not selling medications." "Maybe you're right, we'll see," her mother said. Meanwhile, Mr. Edvaldo was already calling other hospitals, telling their chief doctors not to hire Sofia under any circumstances. Suddenly, there was a knock on his office door. A worried assistant entered. "Mr. Edvaldo, we have an inspection today," his secretary said nervously. "I just got a call from my friend. She's a secretary at the Ministry of Health. She warned me they're coming for an unscheduled inspection." "I can't believe it," Mr. Edvaldo shouted. "This is the last straw." "All right, listen up. They already took that homeless guy out. We're not waiting for an ambulance," the assistant replied. "When will he arrive?" Angrily, he dialed the head of the therapeutic department's phone number, shouting for them to remove the homeless man from the hospital. "I don't care if you throw him under a bush. A health ministry inspection is on the way, and this homeless guy here, unregistered, not fully examined, with no identity, needs to be taken to the other side of the park. Leave the hospital ambulance there." The head doctor yelled, "But it's cold outside. It's fall." "But it's not winter yet. Cover him with a blanket," Mr. Edvaldo advised. The nurses took the patient on a stretcher to the exit when the health ministry inspectors arrived. They had just passed when one inspector took an interest and followed them. "Where are they taking the patient, and where is the ambulance?" the inspector asked. "It should already be here," Mr. Edvaldo replied, smiling. "We did an emergency operation, and the patient is doing well. Now we're transferring him to another hospital for further treatment." The inspector turned and looked out the window, seeing the ambulance had indeed arrived. He walked past the patient, then suddenly looked at his face and froze. "Dad!" he exclaimed, running to the stretcher. "Is that you?" Everyone looked confused. The inspector's colleague also walked up to the stretcher. "Natanael, you must be mistaken." But he looked at the man and gasped, "Mr. Fabio, is that you?" The man on the stretcher looked at them, confused. He kept his eyes on Natanael, recognizing the familiar facial features, but unable to remember from where. "Dad, do you recognize me?" Natanael asked, looking at his father, who they had been searching for the past 2 years, having lost hope of finding him alive. Fabio, thin with a beard and long hair, seemed confused but slowly recognized his son. A year ago, Fabio had celebrated his 16th year of retirement and had owned a successful medical equipment business, and wanted his son to quit his job at the Ministry of Health and join the family business. But Natanael, stubborn as ever, refused, saying he liked his job, and that business wasn't for him. This made Fabio deeply sad, because he worried about who would run the business in the future. He had a stepson, Paolo, who was a bit older, but Paolo was shallow and irresponsible, likely to mess things up. Things happened quickly, and with no other choice, Mr. Fabio signed a power of attorney for Paolo and began teaching him the essentials bit by bit. Then tragedy struck. Fabio was driving when another car cut him off. Thugs emerged from the vehicle and struck him on the head. His last memory was of falling into the river with his car. He managed to escape the sinking vehicle, but woke up on a beach with a pounding head, barely able to feel his limbs, and most crucially, with no memory. 2 homeless men warming themselves by a fire on the beach found Fabio. They saw the old man with a bloody head and offered to help, but he couldn't remember where he lived. Reluctant to take him to the police, they took him in. Thus, Fabio became a man with amnesia and no past. The police informed Fabio's family that they had found his car in the river, but not his body. Natanael never believed his father was dead and continued searching for him. Despite living in the same city, they always walked on different streets and never crossed paths. Meanwhile, Paolo took over the company and ran it his way, leading it to the brink of bankruptcy. Natanael was furious, knowing his stepbrother had almost ruined their father's business. Bankruptcy was looming, and they wondered how they would break the news to Fabio if he ever returned. Paolo, confident no one would come back from the dead, smirked. But there Fabio was, alive, on the stretcher. Natanael immediately instructed the medical team to take his father to a room and ensure he received the best care. The head doctor, now aware of who the patient was, directed everyone accordingly. Natanael's main concern shifted to how to help his father regain his memory. "Your dad's alive," Natanael thought to himself. "Sure, here's the rewritten passage." It seemed evident that his condition of amnesia was permanent until he overheard 2 nurses gossiping. Standing in the ward, he overheard them chatting in the hallway, unaware of his identity. "Mr. Edvaldo is trying hard to please him now, but he fired Sofia for saving a human life. It's so unfair," There are few doctors as talented as Sofia, one nurse lamented. Injustice always finds a way, the other replied. Maybe we should inform the health ministry guy. He deserves to know who saved his father and who suffered for it, one nurse suggested nervously. No way. Mr. Edvaldo will punish us if he finds out, the other cautioned. Just then, Natanael appeared behind the door. Excuse me, ladies, but I overheard everything, he said calmly. Tell me exactly what happened. The nurses, initially flustered and nervous, realized Natanael had the power to dismiss them as well. Fearfully, they disclosed that they had found his father. Like Sofia, Natanael took decisive action without heeding anyone's objections. When the chief doctor had screamed at Sofia and fired her, they had also learned of Mr. Edvaldo's attempt to eject the patient to avoid scrutiny during the health ministry inspection. After hearing everything, Natanael confronted the chief doctor in his office. The doctor, relieved the inspection was off, saw the homeless man's identity as advantageous. So, saved an elderly man in our hospital, huh? They planned to transfer him, but everything was by the book, he explained with a smile, oblivious to the team's betrayal driven by his arrogance and ill temper. You don't need to worry, Mr. Edvaldo assured Natanael when he entered the office. Your father is receiving top-notch care in one of the best hospitals. I don't doubt that, Natanael replied tersely, locking eyes with the head doctor. Now that you know who his son is, consider how you wanted to cast him out like a stray dog, he continued sternly. Mr. Edvaldo nervously attempted to justify his actions. You also fired the woman who saved my father, Natanael added pointedly. She was considering leaving anyway, the chief doctor lied. I know the truth. Go find that woman and convince her to return here, Natanael commanded firmly. Understood, the chief doctor acquiesced, feeling the weight of Natanael's resolve. Sure, here's the rewritten passage. He hurried out of the office, leaving Natanael alone. When Sofia saw the chief doctor standing on her apartment doorstep, she froze in confusion. Forget everything I said earlier, Sofia. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's go to the hospital. The father of the man you operated on is waiting for you there, he explained urgently. You did an excellent job. It turns out he's the father of an executive at the Ministry of Health. Sofia pondered. The father of an executive. What was he doing on the street? The chief doctor replied, It's a complicated story. I believe the police will handle it now. Sofia hesitated, but she decided to accompany Mr. Edvaldo and Natanael to the hospital. When the young surgeon arrived, Natanael was surprised to see her. She's so young and wasn't afraid to stand up to the boss. That's pretty brave, he thought. Welcome back to work. No one will fire you again, Mr. Edvaldo admitted his mistake, nodding in embarrassment. Sofia struggled to contain her laughter, seeing Mr. Edvaldo in such a pitiful state. Several months passed, and Mr. Fabio was discharged from the hospital. Sofia continued her work there, and gradually, the incident faded from memory. However, the news spread throughout the town that Paolo, Mr. Fabio's stepson, had been responsible for his attempted murder. Paolo was apprehended and jailed for his actions, aiming to hasten his inheritance of the family business. Mr. Fabio eventually regained his memory, but chose not to return to the business. Instead, he embraced a peaceful retirement with his devoted son, Natanael. Later, Paolo secured his release, thanks to a skilled lawyer hired by his father's request, and he relocated to another city, severing ties with the family. The chief doctor, upon learning the details, expressed disbelief at such a heinous act. His colleagues heard his words, but silently reflected on Mr. Edvaldo's lack of moral authority. Subsequently, a hospital inspection revealed that Mr. Edvaldo had embezzled state funds intended for hospital use. He was tried, convicted, and placed on probation, effectively ending his medical career. Sofia continued her career as a surgeon, now returning home not just to her mother's house, but also to spend time with Natanael. They were planning to marry soon, despite their age difference, as love knows no boundaries. As Sofia and Natanael prepared for their upcoming wedding, life settled into a new rhythm of happiness and stability. Sofia continued her work at the hospital, respected and admired for her dedication and skill. Natanael supported her unwaveringly, proud of her courage and compassionate nature. Meanwhile, Mr. Fabio enjoyed his retirement, spending quality time with Natanael and reflecting on life's unexpected turns. He was grateful for the second chance he'd been given and cherished every moment with his family. Paolo, on the other hand, struggled to rebuild his life in a new city. Disowned by his family and haunted by his past actions, he faced the consequences of his greed and ambition. The once prosperous businessman now navigated life with newfound humility and remorse. As for Mr. Edvaldo, his fall from grace was swift and publicized. Stripped of his medical license and disgraced in the community, he retreated from the spotlight, bitter and resentful. His downfall served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the consequences of dishonesty and abuse of power. In the years that followed, Sofia and Natanael welcomed a daughter into their loving home. They named her Anna, after Sofia's grandmother, who had inspired her to pursue medicine. Natanael continued his work in public service, advocating for transparency and accountability in healthcare. The hospital underwent significant reforms after Mr. Edvaldo's departure, focusing once again on patient care and integrity. Sofia's role expanded as she took on mentoring young surgeons, passing on her knowledge and values. Through it all, Sofia remained grateful for the support of her family and the lessons learned from her experiences. She believed in second chances and the power of forgiveness, knowing that each person's journey held the potential for redemption and growth. And so, amidst the challenges and triumphs of life, Sofia and Natanael's love story continued to flourish, a testament to resilience, compassion, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. As Sofia and Natanael prepared for their upcoming wedding, life settled into a new rhythm of happiness and stability. Sofia continued her work at the hospital, respected and admired for her dedication and skill. Natanael supported her unwaveringly, proud of her courage and compassionate nature. Meanwhile, Mr. Fabio enjoyed his retirement, spending quality time with Natanael and reflecting. The mistakes of the past were not repeated. Their wedding day was a celebration of love and resilience, attended by friends, family, and colleagues who had witnessed their journey. The ceremony was held in a small chapel adorned with flowers, symbolizing new beginnings and the enduring bond between Sofia and Natanael. As they exchanged vows, promising to support each other through life's joys and challenges, Sofia couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. From the turmoil of losing her job to finding love and purpose alongside Natanael, every obstacle had strengthened their resolve and deepened their love. Anna grew up surrounded by love and inspiration. She inherited her mother's curiosity and her father's passion for justice. From a young age, she expressed interest in medicine, often playing doctor with her dolls and asking Sofia endless questions about surgeries and medical procedures. Sofia and Natanael's home became a sanctuary of learning and compassion. They instilled in Anna the values of empathy and integrity, encouraging her to pursue her dreams with determination and kindness. As Anna grew older, she accompanied Sofia on hospital visits, observing surgeries and learning firsthand about the complexities of healthcare. The years passed, marked by milestones both personal and professional. Sofia continued to excel in her career, earning accolades for her contributions to the field of surgery. She published research papers and spoke at conferences, sharing her expertise and advocating for patient-centered care. Natanael's work in public service expanded, driven by a desire to create lasting change in healthcare systems. He collaborated with policymakers and healthcare professionals to implement reforms that prioritized equitable access to healthcare services. Their lives were not without challenges, but together, Sofia and Natanael faced each obstacle with resilience and unity. They supported each other through long hours and demanding schedules, always making time for family dinners and weekend outings with Anna. As Anna approached adulthood, she decided to follow in her mother's footsteps and pursue a career in medicine. With Sofia's guidance and Natanael's unwavering support, she enrolled in medical school, eager to make a difference in the lives of others. The legacy of Sofia and Natanael's love story extended beyond their family. It inspired others to believe in the power of compassion and integrity, reminding people that every action, no matter how small, could create ripple effects of positive change. At their silver wedding anniversary, surrounded by loved ones and colleagues, Sofia and Natanael reflected on a lifetime filled with love, laughter, and shared purpose. They celebrated not only their enduring love, but also the impact they had made in their community and beyond. Sofia's journey from a dedicated surgeon facing unjust dismissal to a respected leader in her field was a testament to resilience and the unwavering belief in doing what is right. Her story continued to inspire generations of young doctors and healthcare professionals, reminding them of the importance of advocacy, ethics, and compassion in medicine. As Sofia and Natanael looked forward to the years ahead, they knew that their love story was just one chapter in a larger narrative of hope and possibility. They remained committed to their values, knowing that together they could continue to make a difference in the lives of others and leave a legacy of kindness and integrity for future generations to emulate.